times, and he was, cool, blunt, he was saying about the state. But he went out there and the mud annoyed him so much. He did a great set. He went out there and made the audience have it whether they liked it or not.
Weather, powered up there by not the rock and roll spirit, but by mud, hatred of mud.
Well, you don't like it on you, it's one of. But I will say that there are some people who manage to come down here and get no mud on them at all. I don't know how they do it, but it is a skill, a levitational skill, I think.
Well, listen, we are so excited because you've been very kindly brought your guitar and you're willing to play for us.
I am indeed.
And as you know, I've got no time for your political views.
Fair enough.
As you know,
it's great because that's the great thing about Billy Bragg is it's the love songs.
It's all about the love songs.
Exactly,
it's all about the human interest. It's all about the identifying real people and expressing them through music.
The politics is just something I do. The love songs is who I am. You know what I mean?
Well, as I've often said, I don't want to hear you for 3 minutes singing "There's Power in a Union."
No,
you know that out in between songs.
You know it.
I know that already.
Exactly.
There's Power in a Union, guys.
Exactly.
Anyway, here's a love song.
But you want to be able to stand at the back and reflect, don't you? Like a big sad mirror.
I'd rather you just handed out a pamphlet.
No, I mean the love songs.
Oh, I see. Sorry, right. Funny. I want to have my lighters in the air. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, you'd be pleased to know I'm writing more of those.
Oh, brilliant.
And I'll have an album out next year, and there'll be some big love songs in there because I have a big love for my missus.
Oh, that's great.
But I thought I'd play an old classic for you. Please do. Saturday Boy.
Oh, come on.
Here we go. Feel free to stand there and sort of sigh.
Yeah.
Manfully.
I was just going to think about unions.
The union between man and woman.
Brilliant.
Stephen.
Final word, Billy. We'll have a new Prime Minister very soon. We've got to get you on that.
20 minutes.
On that in about 20 minutes. Yeah. And it's Mr. Billy Bragg. No,
heaven for fan.
You're, in a concise sentence, what are your views?
Well, whatever happens now, both Brown and Cameron have got to differentiate what's different between the two of them, but both of them also got to show us what's different between them and Blair. I think that's Brown's big challenge, but I'm hopeful.
Well, I know Brown's a big listener of Six Music, so let's hope he takes that on board.
He is. Amen to that.
Thank you, Billy.
Cheers.
While we were watching the Arctic Monkeys Friday night, that was what Björk was up to on the other stage, doing her version of All Is Full of Love, and sounded very good. It's so frustrating. That's one of the things about Glastonbury. Of course, you always have to make a compromise about who you're going to see, and in fact, we embarrassed ourselves last night in a desperate attempt to try and have our cake and eat it.
Disaster.
We went along to see Iggy Pop. Obviously, the man was being spectacular, running around, shirt off, as you'd expect. That weird, wrinkled, lean body of his in full effect.
He's made of leather. He's completely made of leather.
Eventually, what they should do is interesting exclusive Iggy Pop luggage. It would be fantastic, but I'm sure he'd love to see that. Anyway, so we thought, we'll see a bit of Iggy. He's dynamite. He's running around. He's being great. He's jumping in the audience. He's doing all everything. So we wanted to decide we're going to hot-foot it to the Killers, catch a bit of them as well. And as we're traipsing off, we hear in the background Iggy saying, "Stick it to the man." A lot of people here revolting against the man. We've noticed. Of course,
the man is not like the
man.
I would not like to be the man right now.
whoever he be. I remember years ago we used to rage against the machine. But the man, we've always been sticking it to the man ever since the 60s. And so anyway, he was encouraging people to come up on the stage, and this now has become a big event where he got a load of people up on the stage. Sadly, we were traipsing through the mud on the way to the Killers. We got to the Killers, we climbed atop some BBC truck, we were watching the Killers. The sound was quite poor from where we were stood, and we didn't really take to the Killers, so we thought, let's go back to Iggy. We get back to Iggy as we arrive. He's going, "Thanks very much, good night." And we've missed all the excitement.
And everyone's saying, "Did you hear about the riot?" Apparently at the BBC talking about the fact there was a riot.
Yeah. Well. So that was very frustrating. So that's one of the things about Glastonbury, isn't it? That you have to just kind of grin and bear it. I seem to have missed a lot of the great incidents. People are already talking about things, and I seem to have missed all of it. But we sent you guys out and about over the course of the weekend to try and find out a little bit about what was happening in the fields. And,
Harry and I are very much earning our spurs as your acolytes and cronies on this little trip to Glastonbury.
We've put an awful lot of work in.
We have extraordinary amount of work. We've wandered through a lot of mud. We took the mic with us and the mini disc, and we met some very interesting people on the way.
Oh yes.
Okay, I'm here with a fantastic, beautifully dressed bunch of kazoo and drum orchestra. Can you tell us what your name is and what the name of your orchestra is?
We're called the Masters of the Kazooniverse.
Nice. And what are you doing at the festival?
We're going around being merry pranksters, entertaining everyone, playing for kids, giving out kazoos. We're having a 2 a.m. Monday morning Kazoo Fest up at the Stone Circle. Everyone's invited, and we'll have plenty of kazoos to give out.
Fantastic, that's brilliant news. 3,000 kazoos. Who sponsors you?
Kazooby.com or something like that.
Okay, do you want to give us a little rendition of something exciting that will take about 20 seconds, 30 seconds?
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
They sounded like fun guys.
They were fantastic. They were dressed like kind of majorettes, like the quality people off the front of the Quality Street tin. They were brilliant.
And that actually goes on forever, that track.
Right,
They just kept going. They got to a bit where you thought they were going to stop, and we were like, that's great. And no, they kept on going.
They kept on going,
But so much fun. They're just parading around the site for people's entertainment. Just absolutely wonderful.
You didn't get stuck in?
Well, they gave us a kazoo, because like the guy said, they had 3,000 to give away. They're doing some big thing at the Stone Circle at 2 o'clock this morning, and they want everyone to go up there.
Yeah.
So they gave Rufus a kazoo.
I embarrassed myself. I held it for a bit, but I had so many wires with the leads and the mic and everything, I dropped it in the mud. What people should realise as well, apart from the whole mud at Glastonbury, the mud makes gravity a lot more stronger and a lot more frightening, because anything you drop becomes completely unusable. So keys, wallets, mobiles, cameras, anything you drop, that's it. It's broken, it's dead. So it makes people really wander around very carefully. And when I dropped the kazoo, I picked it up, and to show willing, I kind of gamely rubbed the mud off it and blew on it, and it turns out I was blowing on the wrong end, and you don't blow, you hum.
Important kazoo information, Rufus. Thank you very much. It's the kind of public service broadcasting that I expect from the BBC and from a man as posh as you.
Thank you.
Probably one of your relatives probably set up the BBC. Who
Invented
knows?
the kazoo as well.
Each week, of course, we listen to Pigeonhole tracks. We'll do that after this. So each week I like to delve into the Pigeonhole and play some forthcoming releases. Obviously, this week we're only playing songs by artists appearing here at Glastonbury 2007, one of which was Rufus Wainwright. We'll talk about what we thought of him live after we've heard his forthcoming single, Rules and Regulations. See what you think. It's the Steve Show, BBC Six Music, live from Glastonbury 2007 with me, Stephen Merchant, and my erstwhile cronies, Rufus and Harry. Still to come, we have music recorded live at the festival from the Pigeon Detectives, the Kooks, the Klaxons, Lily Allen, and we were hoping that Willie Mason might pop in with his guitar. That, at the moment, is pending. We're not sure yet. We're still trying to find the confirmation, but we think he may not have even managed to get onto the site. Or if he is, he's lost. Or if he's not lost, he just doesn't want to come on. We're not sure, but anyway, it's all up in the air at the moment.
Someone said, sorry, Willie Nelson isn't playing this year.
Exactly,
To go back to the band.
He's joined the kazoo orchestra.
One thing you were saying earlier about the kind of bureaucracy can sometimes be a headache. You know, we've got some people on the gates are charming and sweet, and they'll just nod you through. Others, you've got to jump through hoops for them.
Yeah.
But apparently they're on something like, £250 for the whole weekend or something. So they're either going to do their job very well, or they won't give a damn.
Yeah.
And it's whoever you bump into, really. But we were playing tracks that I've just dug out of my pigeonhole this week. Forthcoming releases from artists playing here at the festival, and that was a forthcoming download single, Rules and Regulations by Rufus Wainwright. We saw Rufus the other night, and let's talk briefly about his live performance.
I'm as most people know, not only do I share his name, I'm a massive fan of Rufus Wainwright from the very early days, in fact. I thought I think Harry mentioned that he wasn't really a daytime performer. He would be a dusk or an evening performer, really. So to put him on in the afternoon wasn't ideal for him, I don't think. I think he played very, very well. I think he played kind of 90% of stuff from his new album, which is fine, and a lot of artists do that. He did have the whitest shoes I've ever seen, which in this mud was quite a surprise. And he did do a duet with his sister Martha, who I think sang a set on another stage, and sang Hallelujah with her. It was all a bit chaotic. The whole of Rufus' set was very, very good, but towards the end it slightly unravelled. Him and Martha hadn't worked out which verses they were going to sing of Hallelujah. And then when Rufus appeared in a white dressing gown, applied some lipstick and a little jaunty trilby to sing Judy Garland, Get Happy, he was let down really badly by the sound, which, considering his Judy Garland concerts have been selling out across the States and the UK, for him to kind of have two attempts at trying to be heard through Get Happy was just kind of a bit embarrassing and sad.
Yeah, the sound
really
was terribly kind of warped, and because he sort of mimes to that track, I think.
Yeah.
Doesn't he? Or there's a backing
I think he
track and he sings over
but there's
or
a click track, yes.
But it all went wrong, didn't it? There was a fizz and a bang, and then it stopped about 30 seconds from the end, and it was like, well, do we just kind of shuffle off stage, or do we try it again? So they went for it again, and
It was so brave of him to say, you know what, okay, we'll do that all over again and
Yeah.
hopefully get to the end this time. It was so sweet and kind of benign. But
Well, Evis was apologising in the news because it seems generally that there's been some sound
been a lot
problems
of
throughout
stuff going
Glastonbury, and
on.
obviously we saw the Arctics Friday night. Dizzy Rascal came on, and his microphone
live.
wasn't faded up. Because you felt as well the entire audience was shouting, "Let him come on again, do it again!"
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they didn't hear, they didn't
realise
know
it
anything had
hadn't
gone wrong,
gone-
and I just didn't understand quite how the technical thing works. But is there not somebody who can press a button and sort of get a voice up to the?
I believe
stage?
that's how it works, Steve.
I don't know, but
because for me, when Dizzy Rascal wasn't faded up, for me it was like a cultural event which never happened. It was like a painting which was covered in a canvas which no one, a veil which no one could remove, or
Yeah.
a writer whose typewriter got jammed. It was kind of a moment where, hang on, this is a massive star of grime with a massive rock band, and we're never going to know what that would
And you
have
sort
sounded
of feel like, you know, heaven forbid that Johnny Marr should be playing, you know, with Modest Mouse and go, do you know what, here's a friend of mine, it's Morrissey. Lights go out.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Stage collapses.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
there's that
That's what
feeling
it's
now
like.
of it all kind of not quite hanging
Well,
together.
Morrissey comes on stage with a bag on his face, and no one can get the bag off his face. There's no one who can do it. No one's realised. Everyone's going, he's got a bag on his face. For the love of God, get the bag off Morrissey's face.
Yeah. But Morrissey, of course, would be partly responsible because he'd demand a very specific person to remove that. Possibly Nancy Sinatra or someone. But anyway, so that track from Rufus, Rules and Regulations, one of the songs he played when he was live. And Harry, what did you make of it?
I enjoyed it. Like Rufus said, it was a good set, but Rufus's album is so epic, and I didn't think that really translated to the stage. Like he said, the daytime billing didn't really suit him, but it was a lovely show. He seems like such a lovely bloke, and if Martha can come down from top field from her set to come and do a bit on stage, then you know, perhaps Willie Mason could. I don't know.
All right, well, here's a band which I don't know if this is a debut single, but it's certainly a fairly new band, The Rushes. They played Saturday afternoon on the John Peel stage. Have a listen to Ripping It Down. The Rushes, Ripping It Down, played Saturday afternoon on the John Peel stage. Forthcoming single from them. I'm not familiar with The Rushes, but I personally enjoyed it enormously.
That was fantastic. It's disappointing we didn't do the show on Saturday morning, because then I'd have known that they were good and we could have gone and watched them.
Yeah.
'Cause, I love that.
Just one of the many problems we've had today. It's suddenly got the feeling there that if they keep on writing songs like that, you imagine that they could kind of slowly build up, and you know, who knows, we might see them on the main stage in sort of years to come. It's got that nice sort of anthemic feel.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's some bands who, I mean, we don't want to spoil any of the Lily Allen revelations, but she does talk about the fact that she knows she's never going to be a main stage kind of headliner on a Sunday night, because that's not the kind of music she plays. And I think a lot of the musicians at Glastonbury have ambitions to get later in the night and on bigger stages, but they know the music they play is not going to get them that slot.
There's a slight danger with bands like The Rushes, though, that they could become sort of, I don't know, dare I say it, keen. And it seems strange, I think, in this modern rock and roll environment, that it's one of the main men of Keane that's going into rehab. I think that says a lot about now about kind of the rock and roll spirit. Is that one of the things I've noticed actually about sort of meeting some of the rock stars backstage here is that they seem very business minded. You know what I mean? They sort of seem to stay, other than the obvious names, they generally seem to stay kind of clean and sober, and they come on and they think it through, and there's none of that kind of shambling out onto stage and sort of falling over. That they understand now that it's and I have to say it's also happened, I think, in stand-up comedy now, is that there's people who sort of approach it just like they're going into any kind of business
It's a career
environment.
choice, isn't it? It's a career choice for a lot of people these days, rather than a calling.
And I think that's one of the things about the Arctic Monkeys. And I was chatting with, erstwhile Steve Lamacq. He doesn't even need to erstwhile DJ, he's just erstwhile Steve Lamacq. And he was saying that was one of the things about the Arctics that he was kind of impressed by in a way, is that they're just so together, and they just know exactly how to kind of press the buttons of the audience, you know, and give us a show that's kind of tight and lean, and I was very, very impressed. Mentioning Lily Allen, of course, we were down there in the throng to check Lily out, and she started off by sticking it to the man, rather like Iggy Pop did later. She was very, very annoyed about men who wouldn't give her a mortgage, as I recall.
Well, yeah, I mean, as a banker myself, she slated some of my peers and colleagues. She was basically upset because she couldn't get a mortgage. Because of her credit history. If she'd have come to me, I could have let her know that, you know, we could have looked at future earnings projections, you know, the likelihood of sales income from, like, the States or whatever, and we could probably sorted something out. You know, she may have got a slightly higher interest rate, she might have had to pay a bigger charge up front, but I'm sure we could have sorted it out. We look at things on a case-by-case basis, Steve, and I think that's what Lily doesn't see.
She was just sweeping. I think she was actually lashing out, not just at mortgage lenders generally, but I think possibly Howard from the Halifax. I think that was very much who I had in mind.
Well, to be honest, I don't like him either.
Well, then of course she sang one of one of her songs featured a dig at Cheryl Tweedy. I don't know if this is something that's been rumbling on for a while.
Yes, it has. Yeah, I think it was Tweedy kicked it off. Actually, I'm not my heat and my closer and my now reading isn't quite good enough, but I think Tweedy began it, and then Alan